All right, everybody, we're like 2 days late. It is Wednesday. Usually my reviews of The Walking Dead go up on the Monday after the episode, but this past Monday I did do a raid on Destiny. Tuesday I started doing more raids on Destiny. I got busy. All right, I'm sorry. I do apologize. No excuses. All right, no excuses. But with that being said, we're here today. All right, we had a little bit of a small break, 2-day break, and then we're probably gonna have another break after this, but. Either way, I'm focusing on Destiny right now, leveling up my character, stuff like that, bunch of bullshit, honestly. I like doing it, it's not necessarily the best thing, but it keeps me occupied. Anyways, yeah, welcome back to another episode review video for The Walking Dead. This is the mid-season finale, alright? This was something. 90-minute mid-season finale, Season 8, Episode 8, entitled How It's Gotta Be. And this episode was really good. It was really solid all the way around. I really liked the build up to the end. The end, not so much. I'm not sure what I think of it yet, in all honesty. I have a pretty good idea of what I think about it and like what it means for the future of The Walking Dead and the show and stuff like that. If it really does come to be, I have a couple of theories of how, he might survive. By the way, spoilers, okay? As everybody knows, if you guys watched the episode, if you guys haven't, go and watch it, then come back. As of right now, it looks like Carl is dying. Okay? Carl is dying. It does look like he got bit by a walker. There are theories out there going around. People are saying he's immune. I'm not naive enough to believe that, right? I don't think he's immune. I don't think there's anybody in the Walking Dead world that is immune. Okay? I personally don't think so. But I had another theory. I went on Twitter. A lot of people are throwing it around as well. What if it was a Whisperer? Now, if you guys don't know, the Whisperers are a group of people in the comic book that come after the war that are essentially people who blend in with walkers by skinning walkers and wearing their skin around, okay? They're blending in. They're basically pretending to be walkers. They stay silent, and, they kind of just exist, right? That's kind of how they do things, right? They're one with this new environment, if you will, right? I'm trying to rotate my monitor, by the way. It's a little bit crooked, and which means you guys are probably a bit crooked too. Not you, my camera, but either way. So there's a couple of theories that maybe he got bitten by a Whisperer. The likelihood of it being true, I wish it was true. He did get bitten. We did see the bite on his stomach. That's not in a place where you can amputate it. So if it is a walker bite, truly he is going to die. There's no, ifs, ands, or buts about it. He is going to die if it is a walker bite. The theories that are going around, though, is that it might not be a walker bite or he is immune. Like I said, immune, I don't get it. I don't buy it. Not going to happen. If it did happen, it'd be really weird, really strange, and I don't really think that it would fit the show. But theories are running around. When he was rescuing Sadiq and, trying to kill those walkers back in 806, that's where he got bit. He went back first into like a deer, that was being eaten, right? And the walkers started piling on top of him. And a lot of people think that's where he got bit, and that's probably where he did get bit. The theory is that one of those walkers were actually a Whisperer. Okay, they're blending in with the horde of walkers that were there. The little small group of walkers that were blending in there. And essentially, what would have happened is he would have taken a bite at Carl. Maybe he didn't have a weapon, right? Maybe that Whisperer didn't have a weapon on him, and, he realized that they were probably going to kill the walkers. Like I said, the likelihood of it being true, very unlikely in my personal opinion, but it is a theory. It's something to keep hope alive, if you will, So there is that. So if you guys want to take that with a grain of salt, go for it. But, it definitely could be, it definitely could be. The likelihood of it being not so much, unfortunately, but the one downside of this theory is that in the comic book, the Whisperers get introduced after the war with Negan, after the time jump of like 2-3 years, something along those lines. I think it was like 2.5 or something like that. And that's when they get introduced in the comic book. So we're not exactly at the right time, for them to be introduced. But it would throw a curveball in there, to get bitten by one and then be like, oh, I'm not dying. What the hell? That would throw some confusion in their group as well. Like, is he immune? Or, certain other things could come into play. That would work for some character development. Him going out and maybe thinking that he's immune because he's invincible. because he can get bitten by walkers, stuff like that. That would throw a curveball in there, but again, I don't know necessarily if it would fit the show. It would be interesting, but like I said, I don't know. And then, like I said, it would give us that kind of story arc leading into the Whisperer storyline. You know, a 2-year time jump, you know, never heard from those Whisperers again. Technically don't know that they exist. They don't know that they encountered a Whisperer prior to this, right? Which Carl did, if that is true. You know, and that could finally bring the story to a close for Carl, right? We'd know that he probably got bitten by a Whisperer. In all honesty, we probably wouldn't. They would probably just not tell us. They would probably make us believe that he's just immune or something, right? Us as a viewer as well. So when it comes to the time that we get to see the Whisperers, that would finally, like, explain. It's like, oh, that's why Carl didn't die, right? Anyway, that's keeping hope alive, all right? Just saying. I just wanted to throw that out there. You know, that could happen. I hope it would happen, because there's so much story to come with Carl in the next parts of the comic book after the war. You know, Carl is a big character. He's one of the mains, if not the main. In all honesty, more main than Rick, in my opinion, in the future of the comic book. We get to see a lot more of Carl, a lot more character development, and a lot more leadership comes out of him as well. And especially since the actor Chandler Riggs is obviously older now as well, you know, that time jump would be significant, right? That 2-year time jump would start to even things out with him playing a kid, right? And, you know, him finally playing a teen, right? Chandler Riggs now, I think he could play a teen very well. You know, he keeps shave, everything like that. He could play a teen, I think, personally. I think he totally could. The one big difference with that is that, you know, he can't really play the kid he's supposed to be. In the comic book storyline around this point, I believe is supposed to be like 12 or 13, you know, somewhere around there. He's still a kid, right? Obviously, right now in the TV show, he doesn't look like a kid. You know, he doesn't look like a 12 or 13-year-old, but that time jump would help, you know, start to even things out. Not quite even things out, but it would definitely help, that big time jump in the story. So with that being said, the rest of the story here, all right? Like I said, I don't want to see it happen. That's what I like to think is keeping hope alive, that the fact that it could be a Whisperer. He could have encountered one prior to the storyline. And, well, we're just going to hope for the best, because I do not want Carl to die, because there's a lot more story to come, and I don't want to go down that path, to be honest. I really don't. I really don't know I don't want to know what they're going to do, you know, if Carl actually does die here, which it's looking like it's going to happen. But anyways, so yeah, the start of the episode, we basically have Rick essentially radios 3 sanctuary snipers, gets no reply, picking up from last week, essentially. Rick and Carl walk down the road. This was after their first encounter with Sadiq, so it's kind of a flashback sequence. Carl questions Rick's ruthless approach to survival. Back in the present now, Rick leads the scavengers to the sanctuary, basically trying to figure out what the hell happened. You know, where did all the walkers go? Are they still trapped in there? Do they need to fight them off and stuff like that? And they actually end up getting ambushed by the saviors. And the scavengers and Rick, they take for cover, right? Rick does. He jumps behind a wall. And Rick's giving call-outs, you know. They're coming from the windows. We have to start shooting. We have to take fire. And he looks to his right, and the scavengers are gone. They're gone. They're absolutely out of there. They dipped. They do not bother, if you will. And that's the second time that they've left Rick high and dry. So I don't necessarily think there's going to be a third. I think Rick has probably had it with them at this point. And I truly don't blame him. They completely abandoned him, you know, after their new deal. They completely abandoned him to basically be ambushed by the saviors alone. Thankfully, Carol and Jerry actually ended up coming up in a truck and picked up Rick, thankfully, or else Rick would be dead right now. And they drive off and help him escape just in time. In the car, Carol suggests they split up and warn the 3 communities about the saviors. Carol's going to go to the kingdom. Jerry was planning to go to the hilltop, and obviously Rick was going to go to Alexandria and, you know, deal with his own thing, right? So that's what they were going to do. They did end up splitting them up, and, you know, but that'll come back into present. Another flashback, Carl casts doubt on Rick's decision to kill the saviors and advocates a different approach to moving forward, basically saying, don't kill them, kill Negan, you know. There has to be an after, right? We have to work towards something, and we can't just kill them all and that's it, right? We should build a better life, essentially. He's trying to tell Rick this, and I wholeheartedly agree with him. I truly do. We have Aaron and Need going to Oceanside. They're driving to Oceanside to basically seek for more reinforcements. They want them to become a part of this. They drive by a distillery and decide to stop and find a gift for them, to hopefully convince them to come with them. And Alexandria Dale tells Michonne that his attack on the sanctuary was successful. Michonne apologizes for backing out. Carl now is writing a letter in a house to his dad. It's addressed to Rick, his dad. And on the other side of that letter, it says, just survive somehow. So this is where we kind of started to get the hint that, you know, something's going on with Carl. What's going on? Why is he leaving his dad this note? And it comes, you know, later in the episode where he thinks he's basically going to die and he wanted to leave a letter for his note. He didn't necessarily think he was going to see his father again, and he wanted to leave that letter, just saying, just survive somehow. Tara informs Rosita that Daryl succeeded at the sanctuary. Rosita tells Tara about the grenades and air horns she found at the Savior's warehouse. You know, those were obviously come into play. Here we have Aaron and Need, the last little bit of Aaron and Enid, rather. We get to see this episode because it was very brief on their end. They park their car on the side of the road along with the distillery truck that they procured. While resting, basically for the night, or at least part of the night, Aaron hears movement outside and goes to investigate. Enid now sees Aaron struggling with somebody in the dark and shoots the person that was standing above him. We get to hear a person say, "You shouldn't have come here," and that's when Enid actually goes ahead and shoots her, and it ends up being the grandmother of Cindy, the leader of Oceanside, all right? Natania, or something like that. I don't know her name, but anyway, Cindy's grandmother, nonetheless, all right? So they shot and killed her. Yeah, great icebreaker. Really was. Really makes them want to join you. Cindy runs out of the nearby woods and cries over her grandmother's death. Armed Oceansiders surround Aaron and Enid. That's where we get to see the end of Aaron and Enid. They don't die. It's not the end of them, but end of them for this episode, right? We don't get to see them again. Everything else in this episode is basically focused on the war between Rick and Negan. You know, Alexandria, the survivors, and the not the hilltop, but the sanctuary, the saviors, right? So in Alexandria, Michonne finds Carl standing by a sewer gate where he just emerged from delivering food to Sadiq. Negan now and the saviors arrive at the front gate and order the Alexandrians to surrender within 3 minutes. And he warns that he'll kill Rick and one additional resident as punishment for all of this shit. Rick, Carol, and Jerry drive towards each community in separate cars, and a truck crashes into Jerry's car. So Jerry's not going to make it to the hilltop. He did get in a car accident, but with who? Obviously the Saviors. It has to be, right? The kingdom, Ezekiel flees the auditorium when he hears the Saviors arrive, so the Saviors do come to the kingdom and end up basically invading the whole place, right? Essentially taking every resident there hostage and looking for Ezekiel, basically, to execute him and kill him, right? Maggie Jesus, Diane, and Neo drive toward the sanctuary with a convoy of hilltop fighters. Basically going there to end this. You know, they don't know that there's still, or they don't know that the sanctuary, you know, the saviors aren't trapped still in the sanctuary. They don't know about the whole walkers thing, right? They have no idea what's going on. And Savior Caravan surrounds them on the road after, you know, there was a tree down in the middle of the road to basically stop them. We've seen this in the sneak peek for this episode. Saviors haul Jerry now out of a cargo truck, so they crash into his car to use him as essentially a bargaining chip, you know, a token, if you will, to get them to surrender. They drop a coffin-sized box on the hood of Maggie's car from one of the other trucks, and Simon comes out of the truck now. All right, so Simon, Negan's right-hand man. We know Simon, the guy who plays Trevor on GTA. So we have him. I love his character. A lot of people hate him. You know, he truly is a villain, if you will. He does his job correctly. We have him basically talking to Maggie, saying, you know, you need to basically give up, you know. The kingdom is where we're going to stay now, since you guys piled a bunch of shit on us at the sanctuary. the hilltop is going to help fix up the sanctuary, and it's also going to help us still provide food. So you get to survive, you get to live, go back to the hilltop, and, you know, keep making food, keep producing that sorghum. Alexandria is being invaded at the moment, yada, yada, yada. All right, he threatens to kill Jerry. The hilltop fighters relinquish their weapons to the saviors. Within that, Simon also killed Neil, which was in the back seat of that truck as well. So there's that. Maggie basically just asked for a favor. You know, she said that she was going to basically do everything that he asked her. She just wanted him to basically bury Neil, the guy he just killed, right, in that box. So Carl goes to the front gate and tries to dissuade Negan from attacking Alexandria. We have him basically providing a distraction while everybody else in Alexandria, that including Daryl, Michonne, Rosita, Tara, everybody basically get in trucks and drive out the back, which is exactly what happened. Anyway, tries to dissuade Negan from attacking Alexandria. He offers his life to Negan in hopes of peace. We come to find out, the reason why he did offer his life and, why he necessarily didn't want to die, but, basically said if it has to happen, let it be me, is because he knew he was bit. He knew he was going to die anyways, right? So, very smart play on his part, offering up his life. Meanwhile, Michonne, Daryl, Tara, and Rosita quietly mobilize a convoy and basically smash in the back gate of Alexandria. And outside of that back gate, there is supposed to be a team of saviors basically guarding the back gate so they couldn't escape. Dwight ended up lowering the defenses just by putting 2 cars there instead of the trucks. So Dwight, Laura, and a team of saviors guard the back gate of Alexandria, blocking the exit with a barricade of cars. And the Alexandrian convoy basically hurdles through the gates and past the saviors' barricade, just smashing the cars all up. Laura alerts Negan, and then leading a group chases after the people who escaped Alexandria. Negan then orders the saviors to fire grenades into Alexandria. Carl falls as he climbs down from the guard post, injuring his leg a little bit. He deposits smoke grenades along the residential streets, basically guarding him, from all the flames and the gunfire and everything that's about to take place. And very smart on his part. The smoke grenades did come in handy. He basically had a satchel of them, basically dropping them, every step of the way, smoking up the place and essentially just giving himself some cover, right? Gavin orders the kingdom's residents to bring him Ezekiel. He gives him 5 minutes to cooperate. This was back at, obviously, the kingdom now. So yeah, we have that. Eugene wakes up in the middle of the night, downs a shot of wine. He breaks into tears, basically realizing, he has to try to help his old friends. He wants to get the doctor out of there. So that's exactly what he does. He goes down into the room where Gabriel is with the doctor, right? And essentially says, there's a guard that's basically shitting his brains out right now. So that part of the sanctuary is unguarded at the moment. You guys can get out of here. So he is doing right. He has done some bad. He definitely has. He has been scared. He has been a coward, if you will. He has been surviving. That there is that. But he finally has done the right thing right here. All right. I don't know if it's enough to redeem him, but he is. He's doing some stuff, right? Carl and other Alexandrians release smoke grenades throughout the dark streets. Just outside of Alexandria, Michonne, Daryl, and Tara Rosita hide along the road, guns at the ready, and Daryl throws a smoke grenade into the middle of the road, just as Dwight and the entire crew of saviors were basically chasing them down. Dwight essentially leads the saviors towards the smoke, leading him into an ambush. Michonne's group opens fire on the saviors, and Dwight, basically taking cover behind a car, turns around and shoots all the saviors coming at him, basically. Not necessarily coming to kill him, but coming to get some cover. They were on those sides of the cars taking cover, and he basically shot them. Laura catches Dwight. Laura was the last one alive there, the last savior alive, in the act of betrayal, and shoots him in the arm before she is basically forced to escape. So she does know that Dwight is now, Team Survivor, Team Alexandria, if you will, Team Rick. And she did end up escaping, unfortunately. So that could be bad. That could be very bad. She's going to probably alert Negan to the fact that Dwight is, on Rick's side now. So we'll definitely have to see, what happens there, how that plays out. Negan orders the Saviors now to capture Carl alive. Carl descends into the sewers. Meanwhile, at the Sanctuary's infirmary, like I said, Eugene agrees to help Gabriel and Dr. Carson get to the hilltop for Maggie's baby. Kingdom Ezekiel starts a fire in order to distract Gavin and the Saviors. It's just, it's basically just, I don't want to sit here and recap the whole damn thing, but essentially what's happening is, everything's going wrong for the group, in the multiple groups and the multiple, places, like the kingdom, the hilltop in Alexandria is all, the hilltop's not getting assaulted, but they did just get, pulled over by Simon and, one of their own men killed and everything like that. So everything is going wrong, but they are fighting back, right? It's not just an onslaught by the Saviors anymore, right? It's not just a one-sided fight. This is happening. It's a war. It still is a war. So Ezekiel does end up saving his own people, getting them out of there, getting them out of the gates of the kingdom, and then he locks them closed, telling Carol basically, to save them like you saved me, and then he locks the gates of the kingdom closed. Basically just giving himself up, providing more of a distraction so that they can't chase them down, and, hopefully they can get them to safety, right? So Maggie and her convoy return to the hilltop now. We have Maggie basically going over to the imprisoned Saviors, taking one of them out and shooting him dead, basically proving the fact that she didn't necessarily give up to Simon. She just said what she said to get the hell out of there, right? So she went back, they killed Neil, and she killed a Savior of their own, right? So a life for a life, essentially. She basically says, we're not even, but that's a start. It orders Jesus to fortify the walls and increase their guards, and basically declares that the hilltop will be the last stand of this war. Michonne, Daryl, Tara, and Rosita find Dwight hide behind a car. Daryl now asks Dwight if his improvised plan allowed the Saviors to escape the sanctuary. Dwight tells him that it was Eugene who helped the Saviors escape. Not Daryl. Obviously, Daryl had a fucking hand in it, so let's all be honest, we're not going to excuse Daryl's actions. He's being an absolute jackass, an absolute idiot, along with Tara. He asks him to spare his life and explains that he can still help them defeat the Saviors, and then they can basically square up afterwards, after this whole thing's done, right? Maggie puts the dead Savior's body in a coffin-like box and scrawls a message on the cover, basically saying we have 38 more, stand down. Basically saying we have 38 more Saviors prisoner, and we're going to keep sending you goddamn bodies until you give up. She instructs Kyle to leave the coffin where the Saviors will find it. Gavin now tells Ezekiel that the Saviors are going to put his dead body on the sanctuary fence for all his people to see, and Morgan listens outside the kingdom wall unseen. So nobody knows Morgan's there, but Morgan is there outside the kingdom and is probably going to help Ezekiel, thankfully. Alright, so all's not lost for Ezekiel. We have Morgan. Alright, we have Morgan. Daryl, Tara, and Rosita and Dwight descend into the sewers as Alexandria burns, and Michonne remains above ground, basically wanting to go and, basically try to clear out Alexandria, kill as many of them as she can. Rick arrives at Alexandria, heads towards his house in search of Carl and Michonne. Negan attacks him in his house. We knew that Negan was waiting in his house. He said he was going to wait there and cook spaghetti. Send Rick my way when he gets here. Negan attacks him, catching him by surprise, basically. During their fight, there's a big fight, goes down. Not necessarily a huge fight, but it was a pretty significant fight. Pretty good fight that they had. Rick gets basically pushed out of a window at the end of it and flees down the road. Not necessarily, running for his life or anything like that, but he is hurt. He did get hit with the bat a couple of times, so he's probably not in the best of shape, so he just decides to get out of there and fight another day. Michonne savagely slays a Savior with her katana. Alright, so she does end up killing a Savior. And then just constantly slices him. When he's already dead on the ground, she just sits there and just pounds the shit out of him with the katana. Rick finds her, calms her down, and asks where everyone is, and then they also descend into the sewers, Rick and Michonne do. Joining the rest of the Alexandrians in the darkness, they find Carl laying on the cold, hard floor, basically looking sweaty, tired, kind of feverish. And Carl basically explains, I brought Sadiq here, because they were looking at Sadiq like, who the hell's this guy, right? And Carl says, I brought him here, and something happened, and that's when he lifted his shirt, and he showed his dad that he got bite. He got bit. He got bited. I was gonna say he got bited, but he got bit. And that's where the episode ends. So we got bit. Rick and Michonne basically are speechless at this point. You know, they kneel down. You know, reality sets in. You know, he is going to die, essentially, as they think, at least. You know, we have hope. We have hope. It was a whisper. And that's where the episode ends. So that was the mid-season finale, everybody. I know that was a long video. I do apologize for it, but it had to be done. All right, it was a very significant episode. Very, very cool episode. I believe the war is probably going to end next episode as well. We will see. I truly don't know what happens. The thing that's not necessarily got me concerned, but more hopeful than anything, is the fact that in the preview for the next episode, episode 9, whatever it is entitled, in the promo for it, Rick and Michonne are essentially, it looks like they're at the hilltop, and it looks like they're standing by a grave of some sort. It doesn't look like Glenn's or Abraham's, you know. It looks like a new grave of some sort, and it looks like it's leaning towards it's probably Carl's, right? That's probably what they want us to think, right? I don't necessarily know that it is, you know, because a lot of the times when they put stuff in trailers leading us to believe that it is something, it's usually not the case, you know? So the fact that they put Michonne and Rick in the trailer, you know, kind of standing over a grave, doesn't necessarily mean the worst for Carl, right? I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful. I don't know anything else to say, man. Like, there's just so much more story to come with Carl. I'm not looking forward to what it's going to be like without him there. So it was a whisper. Okay. It was a whisper. Thank you all so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed my episode review or, you know, whatever, I really enjoyed the episode. It was a very, very solid episode. It really was, apart from the fact that Carl is bit. Again, hope. Thank you all so much for watching, and of course my Walking Dead videos will return this February. It comes back on February 25th. The Walking Dead does. It comes back on February the 25th with episode 9, the mid-season premiere, which means my episode reviews will come back that Thursday before the 25th, which would be like, what, 25th, 24th, 23rd? The 22nd, I guess, if my calculations are correct. So I will see you guys again on the episode prediction video for Season 8, Episode 9. Of The Walking Dead. We don't know what it's entitled yet, but we will talk about it when it comes the time. And until then, we'll see you then, alright? If you guys want me to discuss anything or discuss the whole Whisperer biting Carl theory, you know, a little bit more, I will do an episode discussion if you guys are interested in that, you know, between now and February. So if you guys would like to see that and my opinions on it, let me know. I can definitely make that happen. I'll see you guys in the next video. Until then, everybody, it's been Frost. Take care. Bye.